Hey guys, I want to welcome you to the weekly Wednesday for the Financial Freedom newsletter, where every week, every Wednesday, we delve into something inspirational, motivational, something excerpt taken from the Financial Freedom weekly newsletter. Wherever you are, if you're listening on Spotify, on iTunes, Google, be sure to click the like, subscribe, share, comment. And without ado, let's get into the show. Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode for the Financial Freedom for Physicians podcast. And today we're going to talk all about innovation, AI in healthcare. I've got a fantastic guest, Dr. Kasia Hein-Peters. She's an MD based out of Vegas, doing a lot of work in the startup entrepreneur space, and I'm really excited about this show. So, Kasia, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
We were talking in the green room, connecting through Podmatch. Tell people about your backstory. I know you have a medical degree, but you're doing different things and really on the forefront of innovation, AI, healthcare, and we'll get started.
Great. Thank you so much. So, just to tell you briefly my story, as you said, I am a physician. I studied and got my MD in Poland many years ago, and I also did residency in psychiatry there. But quite early in my career, I started working for a pharmaceutical industry, then also medical device industry. And what I found out was that really the impact that I could have on the public health and people's lives and the health outcomes were probably much bigger than if I was a practicing clinical physician. So that actually made me staying in the industry for more than 30 years. But then during the pandemic, I realized yet another thing, which is that the actual breakthrough innovation really happens not in big companies as much as it does happen in small companies and startups, because they are much faster. They are risk takers. Big companies are very good in having a platform and maximizing the platform. But the real breakthrough innovation happens in startups. So I was really drawn to this startup space and decided that that's really what I want to do for the rest of my career. And that's what happened. I am an advisor in a couple of startups. I am a mentor into incubators in Startup Nevada and mHub in Chicago. And I also work with somewhat bigger companies on helping them to grow sustainably through innovation. Just to maybe add one thing, because every business is an S-curve and eventually flattens out. So a startup may be very successful in growing their product or service, but eventually it will flatten out. So every company that wants to grow sustainably has to have a number of these innovation products in their pipeline.
Interesting. I love this title of S-curve innovation. And, we see that, everything is converging right now. Just everything is colliding all at once. And what you talk about, we'll talk about how to create your pipeline, but what are the three horizons of innovation?
Well, Horizon 1 is your current business. So the innovation in Horizon 1 is usually incremental because you really need to optimize your current offer, being this a product or a service. Horizon 2 is what is it that you will do next? And this is your next big thing. It's your next product that you will launch or next service. And obviously, Horizon 2 could be either incremental innovation or could be a radical innovation. Now, Horizon 3 is the uncertain future. We don't know how the market will develop. We obviously observe some trends that are already there, but it is a guessing game. So the way how I advise companies to really look at this uncertain future is to develop scenarios and plausible scenarios, scenarios based on existing trends, scenarios that would be relevant for the company, and try to see how well are we prepared for this scenario. Run some business hypothesis, so develop some business hypothesis, run some experiments, and kind of move some of these projects from Horizon 3 to Horizon 2. But it is generally from Horizon 1 to Horizon 3, you really need to have certain projects in your pipeline to continue moving forward with the business.
And really what you're describing is how the most valuable companies today are the tech companies, and they're doing exactly what you're describing. Is they're basically looking to the future, seeing what it is. One of those trends is AI really hit mainstream in November of last year with ChatGPT, and everybody's scared. It's going to go rogue. It's going to kill all our jobs. What is this? There's this concern about, radiology, pathology, other types of fields are going to get disrupted by AI. So talk about AI is already here, but it's not going to replace your doctor.
I don't believe AI will replace a doctor. However, I think that a doctor who uses AI will replace the one who doesn't. So I am very optimistic about AI, generally speaking. I completely do not subscribe to the fear mongering about AI. I do believe it has to be regulated. And I think it has to be regulated from the FDA perspective or other regulatory bodies, because it has to deliver what it promises. It also has to be regulated from the legal perspective. There are multiple legal aspects that have to be taken into consideration. But in principle, I think AI, first and foremost, will eliminate jobs that are boring. AI is the best in mundane tasks, your classic disease conditions. So, for example, let's talk about radiology for a moment. I believe that AI eventually will help radiologists to focus on the most important, the most difficult tasks. And it may eliminate the ones that are easy, simple, and do not require human ingenuity and human intuition and human knowledge to deal with. And the same probably with pathology. It can eliminate tasks that are simple and mundane, but will not eliminate the situations when they're really, our whole brain has to be put into work to make a diagnosis. So in other words, artificial intelligence, in my opinion, is really kind of augmented intelligence. It's not truly artificial because we developed it, we human beings. And it kind of augments our capability. And obviously, I don't even, we can talk about other ways how AI will help physicians. I think workflows may become better. Some other administrative tasks, speech to text during interactions with patients, so that the physician does not have his head in a computer during the entire visit, to actually talk with the patient and look into their eyes. So I see a lot of improvements in medicine, and I think AI is, kind of the next frontier that we will be reaching.
Yeah, it's quite interesting because the internet was the infrastructure, and that had to be regulated, and then now AI is more of this sentient type of technology. It's going to have to be regulated. What you described is, this kind of routine automation, but then there's higher order. There's two dichotomy. I think you beautifully said it. AI is not going to replace your job. People that know how to use AI are going to replace, outcompete. The other question is, we talk about this innovation pipeline. Why is it important for companies to manage their innovation pipeline?
I think it's important for companies who want to grow. And I'm assuming that all innovative companies in the healthcare space or in life sciences, they want to grow. Obviously, it may be a little bit different for a startup. A startup really is in horizon one. The startup is really focusing so much on being successful here and now that maybe a startup company does not yet think about horizon 2 and 3. And this is fine. I think that they really need to have their proof of concept, traction in the market, and really show that the current solution is something that is sustainable. Now, once this stage is over, then if a company wants to grow, they need these other innovations in their pipeline. So a pharmaceutical company needs other products to be launched. A service company needs to look at the market and refine their services, maybe increase the scope, so that we are not kind of stuck with the minimum viable product, that we actually expand our offer to continue being relevant and continue outcompete others.
And the question I have for a lot of healthcare entrepreneurs, most healthcare, it's very hard because it's so highly regulated and their running room is very low. It's very hard. So how can companies, organizations, hospitals innovate and strategically think about the next 10 years, especially AI, healthcare? We all know the healthcare system is really outdated, really inefficient, expensive, outcomes don't meet it. So what are your thoughts?
So if we talk about the how, I think there is the need to really involve people, employees, advisors, maybe customers, to really kind of ideate together. And I think the first part of this is, what are the trends that we see in the market right now? How do we think this market will look like in the next years? And as I said, and I mentioned before, there is a place to develop scenarios. So, for example, one scenario is that maybe AI will become overregulated because we all fear what it will do. So, how we will, work in this type of market. Another scenario is that AI will truly limit the number of administrative personnel and maybe free some time for doctors. So, how will we work as a hospital in this scenario? And I think that not being afraid of the future, not trying to guess what will really happen, not trying to put probabilities on the future, because it is really a guessing game, but really looking at scenarios that are plausible is a way to kind of, I would say, tame the future a little bit, make it a little bit more digestible, and really think about what is the worst that could happen, what is the best that could happen, and are we ready for this kind of range of possibilities? But I think that it starts with really inviting a lot of people into this discussion. And what's very interesting is that normally, if you invite more people into your strategic planning or innovation planning, it is becoming very cumbersome because you have to process a lot of information. But guess what? There is AI that is already doing it for you. There are AI tools that actually help to process all the inputs that you get during the strategic planning process, being this, people's ideas or how they view the trends. And I think that kind of, unlocking this power of human brains by inviting more and more and more people helps you to, tap into the diversity of thoughts in your organization and outside. It's almost like crowdsourcing your ideas with as many people as you can reach. And this is very powerful because the more ideas you have, the more perspectives you have, the more true and really real the discussion later becomes. Because what I would caution against is the whole discussion about innovation management and strategic planning happening in the C-suite, which is a very common process right now. And it's based on the idea that the C-suite has maybe the broadest perspective, but it's also very difficult to invite others because you would have to fly them in. But again, there are solutions now with the help of AI and some online tools that help to engage and crowdsource your ideas from your entire organization. And it doesn't have to be cumbersome. It's lean, it's fast, and it actually improves your probability of success because you crowdsource your ideas from so many different people. So that's really how I recommend to do it. And it's possible nowadays to do it like that.
Yeah, it's really interesting because what you're describing is this exponential organizations by Pierre Diamandis. And, the central thesis is you're taking your ideas, making them better, and basically getting rid of the bureaucracy and the politics and all the nonsense and really focusing and it's talking about implementing your strategies. It'll be faster, better, more efficient, cheaper, more effective, and bringing healthcare into the current times. Very fascinating.
Exactly. I'm really a strong believer in unleashing human ingenuity by these modern tools and really involving more people.
Yeah. One question I actually had is I read this, I was reading this article where, remote tele-robotic surgery. And I'm thinking like the entrepreneur in me is like, okay, this can work. But then the pessimist in me is like, oh, the regulators and the bureaucracy will never allow this to happen. What are your thoughts on using AI, robotics, and having a surgeon, from a maybe different country, wherever, operating it? I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
I think it will become possible. I think that might be all right that the regulatory hurdles may be a little higher. But what you can imagine is a situation where you have a primary care in a remote area, a physician, maybe a nurse, maybe a physician assistant, and it's a remote area, may be, in the US, but it may be in developing country. And this person is tapping into a specialist knowledge that normally they wouldn't have access to. And this specialized knowledge might be a surgeon who helps to perform a surgery through robotics, but with the assistance of someone who is on the site. You can see this as the applications that give access to some tests for dermatology, for radiology, that normally wouldn't be available in this location. And I think from this point of view, AI could be a big equalizer and really improve the equity of healthcare if we allow it to.
Yeah.
So I see, I always, there is an optimist in me, and I always see the potential and the opportunities rather than the risk. But I do agree that kind of the risk of having this, specialized knowledge, a surgeon through remote robotics being, doing a surgery remotely, it may require, really some guardrails to ensure if something goes wrong, there is help available on site. And it's not just done in a patient's home. Maybe it has to be done in the outpatient clinic where another physician or another nurse is actually available to take care of, if anything goes wrong. As it always may with any surgery, by the way, right? Even if a surgeon, conducts a surgery, things may still go wrong.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, especially especially with because I was consulting for a lot of hospitals, upgrading their electronic systems, and you have to have somebody there during that transition because you got to put in the orders, you got to make sure the documentation and things go right. And I was reading sometimes with these experimental telerobotic surgery, the hardware equipment goes awry, and that's huge. So you have to have proper procedures in place, people there to step in. Really interesting. This idea that the homes will be the new centers of healthcare as opposed to the hospital. Really interesting. Yeah. Just so many fascinating ideas. And if the U.S. can't get it right, other countries are going to get it right. So the U.S. will fall behind. So you're right about this equalizer. Very fast. I love talking to physician entrepreneurs. How can people contact you, follow you, check out your work, etc.?
Yes, so I am available on LinkedIn. I have my profile there, so please feel free to connect with me. And I think that's probably the best way because people also will see my profile, see what I do, and we can just start it from there. And what connects us and how we can move this innovation in healthcare forward.
Yeah. And for all the audience out there, let's thank Dr. Hein-Peters for coming on, talking about innovation, exponential organizations, AI, future of healthcare. Fascinating topic and much work to be done. With that, thanks so much for coming onto the podcast.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
I hope you really enjoyed that wonderful, inspirational, motivational piece. Again, wherever you are listening, if you liked it, be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. We're on everywhere: Spotify, iTunes, Google, Amazon, Audible. And without much ado, be sure to thank this show's sponsors, and we'll see you next week.